Introducing your hosts from Collingwood, Ontario, Canada, Jack Edwards, and his partner from Dallas, Texas, by way of Port Arthur, Texas, Big George. Together, they are the North-South Connection.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. We are the North-South Connection. I'm Jack Edwards. That's Big George. Welcome to podcast, episode 40, George. And we have a wonderful topic today, a great topic. I'm so excited to discuss this. Tonight, we're talking about the what if story. What's that?
This is the best what if story ever. And you're probably more happy about this because the person is Canadian.
Well, I mean, he is Canadian. Let's not but he's also one of the best of all time. He's the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be is Bret the Hitman Hart. We're looking at the top 5 matches we would have liked to have seen if Bret had maybe 5 years, if he didn't get hurt, unfortunately, and had another 5 years in his career. What are some of the opponents we would have loved him to see wrestle? So that's what we're talking about tonight. But before we get there, George, I had a chance to finally sit down and watch Backlash, and so I don't know what you thought about it. I thought it was a good show. I enjoyed it. I really liked the Pat McAfee Gunther match. I was interested to see how they would do that because, celebrities in wrestling kind of is something that gets in my craw. I'm a little bit old school. I don't like the Bad Bunny and the, Travis Scott and that sort of thing. I don't need to see that. And I really won't watch it. If I don't like it, I don't watch it. No problem. But, I don't mind the athletes. And, McAfee's a punter. And, I think I've talked to you and other people, it's if you've played a sport, you've been tackled, that sort of thing, I get into it. And I thought it was well done. I mean, when McAfee had offense, he did the kicks because he's a punter. It made sense. I mean, it made logical sense. And Gunther beat the brakes off him for pretty much the entire match. I like the way they used Michael Cole. I thought that was cool. I mean, they did that with, remember Lawler and Ross and Taz? Yeah, so it's the same kind of thing. It's like in a, a good angle, especially when you got a guy like McAfee who can carry it. So I thought it was good. I don't think Gunther came off looking shitty. I think he's still come off looking strong. And especially the next night when he says he's going to challenge for the belt and that sort of thing. So I like that match. The opener was George, I tell you what, they are dying to cheer Jacob Fatu. They were chanting his name. He wasn't even out yet. That dude is over. Listen, I will say this, though. I think LA Knight wins the Money in the Bank.
As he should.
I think he will. He got a huge pop. He's still over. My God, he's over. I'm strap him the rocket to him, too, because I think he can carry it. I see his picture on the Slim Jims at the checkout counter at Walmart. So, he's big, too. But Jacob Fatu, man, they're dying for him to cheer. And when Jeff Cobb came out and they're pairing him with Solo, and then you get thinking about those two. I know they've had a couple matches on different promotions as well in the past, but this will probably be a different kind of match. But just two monsters. So I'm a big fan of that. The women's match was good. And the main event, it was good. I know a lot of people were talking it up. It was good. It's not like I didn't enjoy it. I really did. But I thought it was overkill. I thought it was a lot of RKOs. I thought it was too many RKOs. I thought it was a bunch of ref bumps, bunch of this. To me, it was overkill. They told a good story. It wasn't a bad match. It was. I just thought it was a little overkill for me. But Cena came in, and I love how he killed R-Truth press conference.
You've been waiting on the R-Truth.
I want to I still don't think that's enough. I think he needs to bloody him. I want to see him just bloody him.
He's gonna definitely get his due. I know for a fact. A build up between them two. I feel like
that's a main event. That's a main event match. You could put not on Raw. You could put that as a PLE. R-Truth against John Cena. People will want to watch that match because Truth can still go, even though he's 50 something. He's a fountain. He can still go. He can still do it. But that story, it's hilarious. He's so funny. He's just so fucking funny. And but he needs to bludgeon him. That's what I want to see. I want to see him, he did with Cody. Just because that will get you heat. People are what? The Truth's a nice guy in the world. He's just a little slow. the character, of course.
A little bit, yeah. No,
But
but the thing is, I feel like John Cena is definitely going to have that moment if you want to ride out with that evil kind of feel for the sunset. So I just think, I get what you're saying. But I think the fact that John Cena has actually taken his heel turn and actually kind of indulged in it a little bit. The fact that you had a little bit of a heel turn and you had to fight Randy, and Randy was the good guy in the situation.
Yeah, it was good.
That's kind of y'all don't see the underlying marks a lot of times. Sometimes y'all look at it as, it's just a match between John Cena and Randy Orton. Nah. If you just type in John Cena versus Randy Orton, list of great things. And
they did a good job, a good promo package before, though, right? Like, I thought that was well done. I thought it was well done. They told that story. If you haven't watched the show,
if you haven't been through, like him and John have been through a lot. So if you guys haven't seen that, you definitely want to take that time to kind of like some, good notes from old school Randy Orton. Like when they first started merging two belts and trying to, get everything over that way. Who was the guys who was doing it? That was John Cena and Randy Orton. So I love that. But I also think I have a little bit of a theory here. There will be a third man with Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. There will be a third man. It has to be.
You think so?
It has to be. Now, who that is, to be determined. And it would be hilariously funny if they got somebody that, would turn the tables a little bit.
I think Sami Zayn is a perfect person. Here's why. I think he's like he's Canadian, 100%. So 100% he's Canadian. But no, he's fit that mold. He would fit that group. And then you have a different style of wrestler. I'm trying to think how Triple H he would pull from. And I kind of think he would pull from maybe like a Freebird-esque type thing where you have three guys, but they're all different and they all have a different role. Like, Terry Gordy was the muscle, Michael Hayes was the mouth, and Buddy Rose was the bumper. In this case, kind of what you have. I mean, fucking Braun Breaker is as good a muscle you're going to find. Seth Rollins, he's a good worker. I'm not saying he's not a good worker. He is. But he's the mouth, along with Paul.
He's definitely the mouth, yeah.
Yeah. And Sami Zayn could be the bumper. I mean, and it would fit in. But I don't know. You're probably right. You're probably going to go. I just don't I don't know who it would be. I think it's going to be a smaller guy. I think it's going to be a smaller guy physically. I don't think it's going to be I think it's going to be a smaller guy physically. I mean, Kevin Owens would be a good guy too if he came back and was part of it.
I don't know if Kevin Owens would be.
I don't think he's healthy enough. But
yeah, he's not healthy enough. He definitely won't go.
He's got a while. So, but there's tons of guys they can do it with. I mean, I think though they go with the smaller guy. I think they go with somebody a little bit who's like obviously Braun's not as tall, but he's a monster. And so, but like Seth, I think Sammy's size type guy. Not saying it's going to be him, but they've been teasing, a turn with him somehow. So, but I don't know if it'll be him.
Yeah, no, he'll be just, I think, down the line, but not necessarily somebody you can say that you want to take off the table immediately. So, I'd definitely give him a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. It was a good show, though. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and they've been doing some good work. But I guess on a somber note, we have to talk about, of course, because you know how big a fan I am of the history of professional wrestling. That's kind of one of my things, but is the death of Sabu. Sabu was a guy who they don't make him like him anymore. They certainly don't. He was like the ability, the lengths he went to protect his image and protect his gimmick and all that. And then to be as revolutionary as he was, like anytime a guy does a springboard, whatever the hell, yes. I think of Sabu. He was the first guy to do it. And, and even without the barbed wire, it's never my kind of style. I respected it, of course, and the guys, some of the guys who do it, and Sabu's one of those guys. But I always liked Sabu. He had a great match. Him and Rob Van Dam against Hayabusa and Hakushi at Heatwave 98. Just yeah, they did some table stuff, but it wasn't over the top, and it was a lot of wrestling. And Sabu had a unique style, and we have a couple of the guys. I know our champion Irish Jake O'Reilly in Rock Solid Wrestling put out that he had met Sabu, and Sabu was a great guy. And Tornado, who's been on the show before, as a number of the guys have, and they have nothing good things to say. And so rest in power to Sabu. He was definitely an innovator, a real innovator. I think Raven had the line one day, he should have made millions in this business, being as innovative as he was.
Absolutely. I feel like Sabu was one of the people who was slept on a lot because of, particularly his style, and it didn't fit everybody. But at the same time, he kind of invented a style that you respect nowadays. Some people built companies based off of his style. Some people had
CW was built off his back in large cases.
Exactly, literally. So it's just like there was a lot of things that you can kind of credit him for that not a lot of people will actually give him credit for. Some of the matches that he was able to kind of come over to do. Him being able to have a short WWE run was nothing short of amazing in the hindsight of actually seeing him in the WWE ring.
And he had a good match with Cena and a good match with Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio, exactly.
A really good match with Cena.
It was really good match with Cena. It's just
he's a talent, man.
You can't wipe off the table. Like
he's a Hall of Fame guy. He's a Hall of Fame guy. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He was an innovator. ECW was like you saw him, you're like, what the fuck? That guy's insane. And it was cool.
He wrestled a month ago.
I know. Just but and tonight, interesting. The Dark Side of the Ring, which we watched, is the Original Sheik. The Original Sheik, who my dad is. Original Sheik plays an important role. My father, when he was younger in the 50s, and we got the Toronto television, and he watched Whipper Watson, who was a legend, and the Original Sheik. And he said his aunt, he'd watch it with his aunt, and the only time he would ever hear her curse is when she's like cursing at the Original Sheik because he's gouging people's eyes and just the dirtiest of the dirty heels, And he was like, and people, you talk to them, like, if you talk to people of like my dad's age, that around that, and then you talk about wrestling, they're like, yeah, the Original Sheik, I hated that guy. Just hated him. But what a draw. I mean, Jesus, he just drew money everywhere. So, Sabu was kind of like him too in many ways. He's that modern, he had that same kind of effect, I think, and he made an impact. So, rest in power to Sabu again. But, George, we will turn, and maybe Sabu might be on this list because he might have been around that time. Would have been an interesting match. But we're taking it back here. We're going to get the old DeLorean and go backwards about this because we got thinking. I'm like, Bret Hart, man, it was unfortunate he got injured and he had to stop his career. And because I was talking about the quote where Bret said that the injury unfortunately cost him about $16 million. I'm trying to do the math in my head, and I'm like, well, if he had
way more than that.
Yeah, if he had gone back to WWE in around 2002 and worked with certain guys that were there, like he probably would have made a ton of money because he would have been able to work with those guys, and they were getting into a product where they were trying to get a little bit cleaner because they would go full bore G like later. But so for this exercise, we're going to give it 5 years, basically till about 2005 or so. Bret, 5 years. And the top 5 matches we would have loved to have seen, the top 5 guys. And so against like Bret Hart, who obviously is a legend and like one of the best ever, like just one of the best of all time. So like just you watch him now, I go back and watch Bret matches, and it's just like they still stand up today. You could put that in a ring today.
Yes.
You could put the Steve Austin Bret Hart match in a ring today, and it would blow people's minds because there wasn't a false finish, not one. And it was like nowadays it's like big main events. There's a million of them, but second best Hart. Well, Owen was really good too. But like his style and everything. So George, top 5 matches. Bret Hart, we would like to see. Kick it off. Who would you like to see in the Hitman wrestle?
I'm not gonna lie. You know, there's certain people I didn't really get to see Bret Hart wrestle in hindsight. At that time, you know, I feel like at that time there was a lot of people who were kind of just crossing over into WWE who kind of had a good, you know, set of runs, but Bret Hart never got that opportunity. So we never got to see Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle, yeah.
Kurt Angle would have been a perfect match for Bret Hart. Like, you guys got to think how technical both of these wrestlers are, how good on the mat both of these wrestlers are. Like, Bret is one of the best technical wrestlers ever. And then you get Kurt Angle, who's one of the best wrestlers, period, in world history. That would have been a match that would have sold tickets for years to come. That would have been a great match.
Yeah.
That would have been a rivalry that they could have for
you imagine if it wasn't Bret and it wasn't Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, whatever that was in Los Angeles, 21.
Mm-hmm.
What if it was Bret Hart and Kurt Angle? Like, I mean, you know, like
that's an idea.
Like that would imagine that. Like they would have worked well because Bret was like, they just would have meshed. It would have worked. Like, because Bret, that amateur style, like you said, Bret grew up as an amateur in Canada, so he has a bit of that he could glow on. Plus, he's seen as having a hard technical style. I mean, I think they would have made magic. So yeah, that's definitely it. Next, I mean, George, I'm going to give you my pick. Bret Hart versus Rey Mysterio. I don't think they said it in WCW, but I mean, I know, to me, that I think about, because you saw Rey Mysterio against Kurt Angle. I'm like, can you imagine Rey Mysterio against Bret Hart? And Bret would have had an athletic prime. I think Bret would have had a rejuvenation because he wasn't super old. He's in his early 40s, but I mean, Jesus, guys are wrestling in their 50s now. Bret was always in good shape.
You know, he wasn't like he was out of shape or he was.
No, not at all. He was always in good shape. But like him and Ray would have, I thought that would have been a great match. I think I mean, because Ray does amazing things, and Bret is the perfect size for Ray because he's bigger than Ray, but he's still small enough that he's fast enough that he can keep up with him in certain things. I think just Bret and Ray would have had.
They would have had perfect chemistry. Like some people work with Rey Mysterio, and Rey Mysterio will put on a show that nobody can believe simply because, of course, just how Rey is built and how Rey can take a blow and how he falls and how he gets up and how he just makes that small man look big kind of thing. Like, he can do that all the time. So, yeah, no, Rey Mysterio would have been perfect for Bret. Like, but you gotta grow some talent too at that time. So some of the matches that you would kind of have seen early too, which, you know, I feel like that would have been another good set of competition.
Yeah.
In 2002, a young Randy Orton versus Bret Hart would have probably been absolute money. Because
so you're picking Randy Orton.
Absolutely. Bret could talk some trash. And young Randy Orton just was about talking trash. And young Randy Orton was also going through a phase called the Legend Killer.
But yeah, like that's the one I'm thinking of is Legend Killer Randy Orton versus Bret the Hitman Hart.
Absolutely.
Because that's around the time frame. We said around 2005.
Exactly.
He's doing it. That Randy Orton, not in 2002. That Randy Orton, absolutely. I thought that would have been.
It's like about 05. Like right after.
Yeah, 04, 05. I mean, my goodness. I thought that would have been you definitely hit it. I think that's a good one. I think they would have made magic. So, George, my pick, my friend, is Eddie Guerrero. I mean, I don't know if they did anything in WCW they may have. I don't remember. I would have remembered it. I don't know if Bret ever got to work Eddie. But Bret working 2004 Eddie as the world champion, I mean, come on, that would have been magic. That would have been so good. That would have been so good. Bret Hart against Eddie Guerrero, in Eddie Guerrero's prime.
I mean,
it's like that guy is just. They were like, just because he had that like Shawn Michaels type athleticism, but he was different kind of wrestler because he was like, had that lucha style. But that's a good thing about Bret Hart though, because he was from Calgary, and so many international wrestlers came through Calgary, Japanese guys and British guys, and all sorts of wrestlers. So Bret went to Japan. I think he did some time in Mexico. Definitely did Puerto Rico. So Bret's been seen all these different styles, and that's why he's one of the best, because he could work with anybody. Big guys, like he's big enough that he could work with big. He worked great with Diesel.
He really
and
did.
Like and then, but he could work like again. That's why I have Rey Mysterio on the list. Is that he? You can, but they had two really good matches in WCW. I was in there at the building for one of them, and then they had the match, the Owen Hart match, which was recently. I think it was like 30 years ago or something, like 25 years ago. But Eddie, I think Eddie Guerrero and him would have made magic. I just think about Bret hitting his backbreaker and hitting his elbow on Eddie, and it's like Eddie could fly for Bret too. I just think that would have been a match that would have been amazing. So far, George, we have Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, and Eddie Guerrero. There's a fifth spot on this list. I got two names, George. I want to throw them out at you.
I want you here first because I'm sure that's going to be interesting. There's two guys I think I'd love to see him. One I think is more where we're going to go, but who knows? Is Brock Lesnar against Bret the Hitman. Interesting.
Okay. Like you imagine? Like
I can't deny that. I can't deny Brock Lesnar being a good pick. So. There's a couple others. Just one popped in my head. Is JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield. That was my pick.
Yeah,
that's literally my pick. JBL versus Bret Hart would have been.
Yeah, I was just saying it would have been awesome. Like
it would have been different.
Like because JBL was such a dick, and Bret would have been such a great baby face. Bret versus Jericho. I wasn't as big a Jericho fan, but they may have worked a bit, but I don't think they did.
I think they had a match in WCW right before.
They might have, but
before Jericho left, because Jericho was there, right?
I don't know if they did, but he would have been good too. Yeah. I mean, you could have had him. I mean, because Jericho was kind of different when he came to WWE, right? He was a different wrestler than he was in WCW, so it would have been interesting. But Brock Lesnar, JBL, I mean, John Cena. John Cena was around that time, 2004. John Cena, against Bret Hart, Doctor of Thugonomics against the Hitman.
I mean,
but for me,
in that fifth spot,
I think we both agree. Like your pick was JBL, and I picked JBL, so we kind of got to throw him on there. And I think, man, he would have had a great match. He might have worked Bret a little bit, like when he was Justin Hawk Bradshaw, but when he was JBL, that would have been unbelievable.
JBL was a different animal.
Oh God, that would have been awesome.
Like to see him try to cheat Bret.
Yeah,
Bret would probably try to catch him and try to choke him out because of that. Like I can see Bret going all out because y'all think about it. All right, if you watch some of WCW Bret was a lot nastier than he was in WWE.
Yeah.
He was a lot more off the cuff. Like I didn't seen him rap TV chords.
He worked both of them in WCW. He worked Bret. He worked Dean and both Dean and Bret.
I remember the Dean Malenko match.
Yeah, he worked a lot of guys in WCW. They just bungled the whole thing. But sorry, George. No.
Like I just feel like the styles, would have definitely kind of been for a great match. Like. How about this? How about we take our top 5 real quick? This is the first time we have ever done this, and I'm doing this off the cuff too. These 5 matches, what type of matches would they be? Would they be regular matches? Would they be submission matches?
Oh, I'm just thinking a normal match. I'm just saying, like honestly, Bret Hart was such a good wrestler that he could just have a regular wrestling match, and it would be brilliant. Anything over and above that, like I mean. Honestly,
but like the 2002, like him and JBL would have definitely had a no holds barred match.
Probably, but the rest of the guys probably would have been straight wrestling matches, like because it's like you're talking Eddie and Ray and Kurt and Randy Orton. You know, like I think that maybe there might have been a gimmick with
match.
It definitely could have. It definitely could have, but it was like I don't think like I think you was just seen more like Iron Man matches and stuff like that, and like stuff like that with Bret and like. Maybe a ladder match. Like Bret could have a really good ladder match.
A ladder match with Ray. I mean,
Bret gave them the idea for the ladder match, of course. But a ladder match with Ray. Whoa.
A ladder match with Ray or a ladder match with Eddie.
Eddie, yeah, very like. So there's a lot of stuff. Like I just
like the possibilities are endless with the type of matches that you could have had.
Yeah.
That's the whole premise of this actual top 5. Like,
yeah, it's just
we have so many options to kind of go in, and this is going to be a series. I think it's going to be.
I think this is fun. Like I enjoy this.
There's a couple other injured wrestlers that had injuries that ended their careers a little bit early on some, that was that one injury where he just couldn't come back from. I don't know what Big E's status he can make this one.
I got next week's list right here. I just thought of it on the spot, and you're going to love it. You're going to love it. The top 5 matches you wanted to see Sting in the WWE.
I want to see a healthy Sting before TNA right at 2000, 2001. Come over to WWE. Oh my God. And and you can kind of do a little bit more with Sting because of the longevity of his career, because he did wrestle for so long. It's just that, that was definitely something that should have happened a long time ago. We needed that Sting versus Undertaker match.
Yeah.
That was something that we had to have. But we're going to talk about that next week.
Yeah. So that's a great one. So, but Kareem, in this case, we just looked for 5 years. So they were a little bit. They weren't in the WWE, but they would have made. I mean, my God, they would have had great matches. I mean, Bret would have loved to have worked with those guys. That's what he says. He says it publicly, but he would have worked. Just knowing how he wrestles, he would have had great matches with all these guys. So George, we got 5 names. We got to put this into a top 5, and I got a gut feeling who's number 1 on your name list with a bullet. But fuck it, I'll stay it. Kurt Angle, I think, would be number 1. I think of all the people that Bret Hart ever worked with. Didn't get a chance to. That was the one guy I'm like, oh man, that would have been.
And that would have been probably the greatest.
Just because the size, they were both good size guys. Like Kurt was an Olympic champion, and Bret was a wrestling legend. And like Bret's punches, just I can imagine, and just they could have worked submissions and amateur wrestling, and
they did it all.
Yeah, they. Oh my goodness, I think that was the one that unfortunately we didn't get to. Experience. So number 2, let's just go straight down the list. Number 2, I think, is Eddie Guerrero. I think of all the people that I wish I had seen Bret work with at that time. Like when Eddie was world champion, I would have 2004. I mean, him working with Bret would have been so amazing as a program. Like, just you don't even have to just put him in the ring. Just like 2 second generation guys going for the world title. The best in the world, like the best wrestlers on the planet. I think Eddie Guerrero, for me, should be number 2. You fair? Is that fair?
I'm not going to dispute that. I would say Ray, but I could take Ray at 3rd.
Ray, okay, that's where I was going to. Rey Mysterio at 3. Orton at 4.
And JBL at 5. I think we kind of called it kind of close when we listed them out, because
I think
JBL would have been great. Randy would have been just that much better because young Randy was a beast. It's hard for me to put Randy at 4, but I know who's at 3 and 2, so it's kind of like somebody had to be 4th.
Yeah, Kareem, I think that's a fair. I think Kurt Angle is, to me, when I think of it, like Kurt Angle. Just the styles. Eddie Guerrero, I mean, my God, that would have been brilliant. Rey Mysterio, to me, that's another one that I really wish we had been able to see. Because Rey in his prime with Bret in his prime. Bret would have made him look like $1 million. Just so good. The greatest Mysterio Dom. Well, he's coming up quick. You never know. Then Randy Orton, again, Randy's a bit bigger guy. He's not huge, but he's a bit bigger. And, Bret worked his dad. So it's like, You know, like, I think he probably worked his dad. So, but like, so now we have the honorable mentions list, George, and we already have a couple names: Brock Lesnar, John Cena. The guy that we mentioned tonight, Sabu. That was around the time that Sabu might have been coming around. I don't know where it would have been,
I think
but
it was like 2006, 2007.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit later. So I don't know, but like he's still working in 2003 and stuff like that. I think that would have been an interesting match. You know, Bret against Sabu. I don't think they would have done the crazy table stuff, but I think they could have done some wrestling for sure.
Absolutely. Novelty match. I'll take a little bit of Bret Hart versus. I don't know if I want to see Booker T again, even though that would have been a good one. I'll say Rob Van Dam.
That's a great one. Yeah, that would have been good.
Bret Hart would have been good.
Oh, again, but like Bret, you can put him in there because he's got.
I got one more. Shelton Benjamin or Benjamin Shelton, whichever you got down, please.
Let's get his name correct. Yeah, that's a good one too. Yes, like absolutely.
Like, Benjamin in there too.
Yeah, I think that's a good list. I mean, those would have been some. Oh my god! Like, but Bret has such a good base as a wrestler, and he's such a perfect size guy for a wrestler. He looks the part. Everything he does looks good, and he's able to work with different styles and different guys and make everybody. That was his gift. Is that like Bret Hart with any guy with any size, for the most part, if you had some kind of talent, ability, could go out there and make you look great. Well, at the same time, he looked great. Like he had great offense. Right. And I mean, he could be a bully against Ray, and he could be like, you know, even Steven with Kurt, and just, I think like it would be, be great because it could just imagine. I mean, Randy Orton, Legend Killer, boom, hits the fucking RKO. The next week, Bret's got fucking Randy in the figure 4 on the post, I mean,
just flailing.
Like, oh my god, like
you got Bob Orton coming in and he beats up Bob Orton. Like that's just like the possibilities of Bret Hart being in WWE with health was probably
like he would have made. You're right, more than 16 million if he had been. Now, this is, on that he wanted to go back and work, but I think, maybe he would have seen, somebody would have convinced him, hey, you got these young guys to work with. I think we would really do something. And, and I think he could have made money with all those guys. It would have been, because, like, around that time, remember, there was the SmackDown 6. Paul Heyman was doing SmackDown, and they had Edge and Eddie, Benoit, Chavo, Rey Mysterio, and Kurt Angle. That was the SmackDown. That was what it was built around. It was built around wrestling more so. So Bret would have fit in perfect with those guys. And he was a big star. So I definitely, like, there were so many guys that would have been, and like, yeah, and it's just one of those what if stories for me in wrestling. And it's like, I don't have an issue with Bill Goldberg. I think it's unfortunate. I think he's obviously getting a lot of heat, and Bret has his feelings on it. And I mean,
yeah, they're
both entitled to them, and that's fine. But I mean, I know, it's unfortunate. Shit happens, unfortunately. But I mean, geez, like Bret just had such. I think they would have. I just think after he got through that WCW period, if he was able to be, collected and go out and find, get reconnected with the WWE, I think he would have had a great latter part of his career, because there were really good guys. Like we mentioned, Jericho would have been good. He would have worked with Jericho. He would have worked with Edge. Mm-hmm. Like, we're with a lot of those guys. Like, I mean, so I think it's too bad, but we could talk about it. So that's good news. But I do think that this is something we can continue. Like next week for Sting, definitely. I got like so many, like, yeah, like there's because you could do longer, because you kind of know that Sting went longer.
Right. His career.
So you might have been able to do it something like, so Sting.
I'm going to throw one out there that we're not going to mention next week, so we're going to write this one off. But Sting versus Umaga?
Yeah. Yeah, well.
Let's see where it goes. Because, Sting is the ultimate tough man, and then Umaga could dish it out. So there was
nothing like good. Sting would work with him. It would have been great. I think this is a title match. I think. It's too bad, but I tell you what. But I am excited about the dark side of the ring tonight, on the Sheik. I think it's again another guy that doesn't get his due, and if you study wrestling history, he's the biggest box office heel attraction of the first part of the modern era. Like, he was the guy. Like, he stole at Toronto like fucking nightly for years. Just people want to see him get his ass kicked. And that was it. He was a heel, and he was just that he stuck to that.
He did a lot of not necessarily he did a lot of it for the warfare. Like, everybody was kind of like, everybody loved to hate him. And that was the thing. Like, everybody could enjoy the fact that he was a heel, so everybody really loved to hate that man.
Oh, just would have been, But, I love these kind of exercises because there's so many guys out there who, for one reason or another, like injury, stuff like that, never got that opportunity to work with certain guys. And it's too bad. It's too bad. But
I mean, we can also do one for tag teams too, because there's a lot of tag teams that ended up breaking up very, very early and never really getting back together because, of course, whatever reason, but their singles careers didn't work out.
Here's a good example. So there's a story that Jim Cornette tells, and it could be a future episode, about how he and the Heavenly Bodies. Here in the Midnight Express. I was watching Smoky Mountain Wrestling earlier. Had them in mind.
Gotcha.
But he and the Midnight Express had talked to WWE about going in, but it just wasn't. But there's a what if. Like 1986, they go to WWF. Who do they wrestle? Like, that's a good list. They're like, go back and look at those tag teams and look at who they kind of work with. I think they would have done some really big, because Cornette would have got over. Cornette would have, he's going to get over. I mean, he's good. There's no question. He would have got the team over. But I think that's another what if. I think we got to put that on the list. There's so many things. The hell? What's he talking?
The 2-man power trip is the greatest tag team ever.
Jeez.
Yikes.
The Wilds of Utah are getting to our friend Kareem, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
his baseball coaching career is going to his head, I think.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's got
to be.
George, I tell you, tomorrow night's a big night. Tomorrow night, the Maple Leafs take the ice again. And George, I tell you what, we're not, we shit the bed in the one game in Florida. We didn't play well. We had a good goaltender, but see, congratulations. But I tell you what, I think it's a must-win game. We got to win this one. We're just gonna find out if the rubber meets the road with this club. So I like them. I got faith in them. Joseph Waller, goaltender, played great. It's just this is a big game for this group of Maple Leafs. So, but that's that. George, have you watched any interesting wrestling? You know what I watched this week? Other than the Smoky Mountain match I watched today, was WCW earlier, because I sometimes I watch stuff when I'm doing dishes. Capital Combat 90 was on the WCW YouTube channel. And that's the one where fucking RoboCop comes in.
Who was his tag team partner?
He didn't have one. He just came in. Sting got stuck in the cage. The story goes.
Yes, I remember. It had something to do with Sting. I remember.
Yeah, Sting got stuck in the cage, put in the cage by the Horseman, and RoboCop comes out. It pulls the fucking door off, and out comes Sting, and they go chase the Horseman. And it was it had some good match. Cactus Jack was in a match. It was him and Kevin Sullivan and Bam Bam Bigelow against Norman the Lunatic and the Road Warriors, which was interesting. The Midnight Express wrestled Z-Man and who I didn't know that I think that there's a famous sandwich at Joe's Kansas City called the Z-Man, and I always say it's after Tom Zink, I guess. But him and Flying Brian against the Midnight Express was really good. Ric Flair wrestled Lex Luger in a steel cage, and it's never not going to be good. Jesus. So there were some good matches, so I like to encourage people to watch new stuff. So that was one of the things, and then I was also digging into last week. I think it was Super Brawl 6 in WCW. It had some good stuff on it. So I love the content they're putting out. I'm waiting for them to apparently going to do an ECW channel, which would be really cool. Especially now. I mean, let's get Sabu's catalog out there. Let's get some of his stuff out.
You need some kind of push there. You actually what I've been watching recently. So I've been watching random WCW pay-per-views.
Big shock. This is a shock face. This is a shock face.
This week was 98 Slamboree.
Ooh. Was that Fit Finlay against Benoit?
Benoit, yeah. Fit Finlay versus Benoit. Lex Luger versus Brian Adams. It had Seco Pay versus Hoovy.
That was the Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Where Malenko fucking Jericho introduced everybody, which is the best part of the entire thing.
It's
the best part Jericho of the entire show.
Fucking Mike just giving folks hell, boy. This was like peak Jericho in WCW. Like 98 Jericho was like top tier.
Oh great God, that was such a good he gonna rock to a drop.
Exactly.
Marty Jannetty.
You had this pay-per-view was actually pretty good to watch. It had Diamond Dallas Page versus Raven.
It was really good. Eddie versus Ultimo Dragon.
Yeah. Bret Hart versus Savage.
That's never not good. That's and then you had Roddy Piper as a special guest referee. George, we need to put out there, I think, on the Twitter machine, if anybody responds, we'll try and get people to respond, is we should look at the list and pick one because we want to do a live cast. I want to I know I can because it's legal here. So I can get a little high on wrestling, as we say. And sit back and we can watch it live and talk about it. Because I think we want to do this because we're doing something on Twitch. And I think we should put that out there. Maybe that's one of the shows. Because, you and I love a WCW pay-per-view. Or some random episode of Thunder with Brad Armstrong against Dean Malenko. What the hell's this?
I mean, who doesn't love a good old school match? And especially when you can kind of get some good,
I don't know if I can do SummerSlam just because I can't commit. I might be working or whatever. So it's better to just do something that's on the internet because then we don't have to worry about
time obligations and things like that.
Yeah, because you and I are always busy. But I think it's a cool idea to sit there and let's go back to a a live stream. I think it'd be awesome. So maybe we'll look into that.
Put on a virtual couch and watch wrestling with us.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Let's this is how we do it. This is how I watch wrestling. I mean, so awesome, George. I mean, that was a great list. I mean, I just, what if Bret Hart? What a just Kurt Angle. Oh my God, an Iron Man match against Kurt Angle. Jesus. I don't. And
I probably watched that for hours.
I think they would do a good job too because I was. Not that it wasn't a good match. It was people love it, and that's fine. But the Sean Brett match, I just didn't like that there was no fall. I thought you could have done falls. To me, there was no falls. It was there was near falls. It was great. The overtime thing was really cool, but I thought you could have done that if they were tied 2-2, and it still would have been. I just think the falls for me. That's why I like the Ricky Steamboat Rick Rude Iron Man match. I thought they told a really good story. Rude got up 4-1 and Ricky had to come back. I thought that was a cool thing. So I thought that they'd have a great Iron Man match, a great submission match. They'd probably figure out a way to make it really awesome. So definitely. But George, next week's Sting. we talk about Sting, who's like, he's your guy. You know, so I'm excited. I think that's a great.
I wanted to see, like, when WCW went under and I watched him and Flair just send us off into the sunset. I was like, what's next for him? Because he's got to go to WWE. Yeah. It's got to be the one match that people have talked about for years was the Undertaker versus Sting match. For some reason, we wanted that so bad. In my mind, I would have booked it a different way, but that's neither here nor there.
I think Undertaker against Big Evil, like Big Evil Undertaker against Sting would have been awesome. Like Absolutely. If you had him against Sting in Toronto instead of Flair, which was unbelievable. That match against Flair, it was the best match I'd ever seen live, and I've seen a lot of good matches live. I've been fortunate. I was fortunate. So, but that was the best one I'd ever seen live. Arn hits that spine buster, boom, bam, for about 20 minutes until The Rock and Hogan came out and just destroyed the place and left it burning, and nobody gave a damn about what happened after that. So it was like. But if you had to put Sting in there against against The Undertaker, like that WrestleMania, that would have been awesome. Like I think they would have worked well together. I think Sting was good enough to work with anybody. He had good matches with a lot of guys. Like in TNA, he had a good match with a lot of different opponents. So he wasn't a one-trick pony either. And I think that's why it's so intriguing, because there's so many matches, obviously, out there. So, but Kareem's got a few. Bret Angle, I Quit. I don't know if I do an I Quit. I like. The submission match is kind of an I Quit match. It's the same idea. Bret Eddie, no DQ. Yeah, that would be great. Bret Eddie anywhere. Bret Eddie in a parking lot, like, in a parking garage at like 1 a.m. would be fantastic. Like they were wrestling savants. They really were. They just knew how to do it, and they looked the part, and they had the good. Like, and people talk about Bret and his mic skills, but like when you got to 97. That Bret Hart was great on the mic. He was fantastic. Like when he was doing the anti-Canada, God, I wish we had him now. The anti-American thing. But like, because I think there's an opportunity with this tariff stuff for them to get that gimmick over. Like you get a guy out there saying this is bullshit. Yeah, we boo your anthem, and here's why. Like, get it over. He would get heat in the United States and be a hero in Canada. Kevin Owens, like if he wanted to do that, I don't know. If there's a wrestler who would do that, I think it would get over. But like Bret, like during that time, I mean, was so good. So,
I got a question.
Yeah.
Do you see Bret in a tag team match versus anybody?
That's interesting. Like I think you could have. Like I think you could have entered like Bret and Bret around that time, Bret and Benoit against like
the NWO.
I don't know.
You never know. They were there.
I don't know. I mean, like, trying to think. Like, I think Bret would have been interesting to work against the Dudley Boys and the Hardys.
Yeah.
In some sort of tag match. Like, even with Benoit. Like, I mean, because they're the same kind of wrestler. They had matches at WCW. They had a couple. They're really good together, though. Like, again, but Bret Hart against, like, that Booker T would have been a different kind of match, like they did the Un-Americans thing, which I don't think would have worked with Bret necessarily, but it, could have been. But like Bret against Hollywood Rock would have been interesting. Like, so Bret, like I'm trying to think tag matches though. Who there's a bunch of guys though, I'm
gonna see. Let me look real quick. See what
the tag teams around that time. So
what's looking like as far as tag teams.
But I just don't know who they, who are they going to put them with, and who are they going to. So that's kind of hard to imagine. But I think like Benoit would have been
Venus.
Like him and he could have worked with Jericho and like remember Jericho and Christian were kind of a tag. They could have worked with each other. I'm like maybe they make. I mean, hopefully you're hoping on all of this too. That like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels make amends. This is what the whole exercise is about. That everything goes right. I think that that's kind of what we're talking about. And Bret Hart against Shawn Michaels would have been really cool at that stage of their careers. I mean, that's a natural, perfect fit. Once you get back, you'd like, okay, guys, let's be professional and, you know, let's make it happen. And if you could have made that in like 2002, 2003, Shawn Michaels against Bret the Hitman Hart, I mean, that could be on the list. I mean, we might have missed that one.
That might be something that we have to look into because, of course, I know when you kind of have the idea of Bret Hart coming back, you automatically think about what is it going to be like between him and Shawn Michaels. Like, what is that relationship going to be? And then, of course, you still have to think about what his relationship would have been like with Vince at that time, too.
Yeah, I think this is obviously, you know, in a fantasy land where everything goes right and he can come back and he can work with these people. I mean, we're looking at the greater good here, and I think him working with Shawn Michaels would have been great. He could work with Triple H. He could have worked with all those people. And so, like, because he was he was so good. He was so just good. He could work with anyone. Absolutely anyone.
That kind of makes the argument just a little bit wider because, of course, you know, Bret was definitely one of those you can work with anybody type. So it's kind of, you know, he could have went down the roster for a while. Like,
yeah. And there's a lot of, we could do all just what if matches because I know there's one that was apparently supposed to happen, but unfortunately, like we could do it with Eddie, like we do an Eddie Guerrero show. You know, what if he had hung around and the guys he could have worked with going forward, some of the younger guys.
I don't know if in hindsight, if Eddie Guerrero would have had a longer career, let's
assume it's 5 years. Let's give him 5 years.
5.
I think for most guys that's good. Sting will extend because Sting wrestled for 38 years.
His entire career is literally longer than my life at this very
And it's like he came back to WWE. It was good. He had good moments. But I kind of respect that he made a really good living for the rest of his career and he didn't really work with WWE a lot. Like AEW did right by him, I think. I think they treated him well with the Sting retirement. They gave him a big send-off that he deserved. I think he did a lot for them. And, you know, and Sting's one of those guys. I mean, so, and like, you could just do this, like, what if Sting went to the WWF in 1991? Like, Sting versus Randy Savage at that time. So different places and times.
Yeah,
but I definitely think next week is Sting and talking about 5 to 10 years, give Sting in the WWE, and then we got Eddie.
This is specifically after he leaves WCW, not
after he leaves WCW. Let's say they're able to assume his contract and he comes over immediately, because that was the thing. Kareem loves the Invasion Act. He loves it. My problem with it was, with all due respect, they were Palumbo was a good worker, but Stasiak and Palumbo were gonna do it. And then when they combine with ECW, I'm like, that just doesn't fit. That thing did, with Stephanie owning ECW, I would have liked to see ECW still be the rogue group and just kind of hang in the weeds. That would have been better, but they just didn't have the stars. People, it was so funny, because people complained about it's the old guys in WCW, but that's who they wanted to see. You wanted to see Goldberg, Sting. We got to see Flair a lot, so that was good. A little bit more Kevin Nash, maybe a little bit more Scott Hall, but we did get to see them. And it was what it was. But you didn't get to see them at that time. They weren't the stars that came in for the Invasion. Those guys came in later, so it would have been nice to have seen some of those guys. That would have been cool, But the Invasion is just it's just it was lackluster. The ECW part was cool. When ECW came together, that's awesome, that's cool. But because they had Rob Van Dam, and Van Dam was so over.
He was big.
Over. You could have put him with anyone. He was so over. And it's too bad for that ECW didn't go on, because that's the one thing that they never got, was the Rob Van Dam main event level in ECW. No, he died a few years ago. Yeah. Yeah, he was. He worked with everybody though. He worked from like 1951 to like, no, he didn't work 51, but he worked from like the 60s to 2000, whenever. Terry Funk worked everyone in the business. But like, I would have loved to have seen a ECW get that opportunity with Rob Van Dam, as the horse carrying the load, because that guy was over. When he showed up to WWE, that he was over. And because he was unique and he was different, and he was a different kind of wrestler. He wasn't like, but he was like still legit. Like, he was an athlete. You could tell he was an athlete, and he could fuck you up. Like, he had kicks and shit and punches. He knew how to box, and he was legitimate. And just like laid back type stuff. He was like very zen and told lead jokes. It was a cool persona. It would have been nice to see them capitalize on that, like, legitimately. Like, WWE kind of got to. Like, they really got, like, I still think they could have done more with him. I still think he would have been I still think at the moment he came in, he should have been working with top guys. He should have been a main event guy. He was. Like, the main event, like, he should have been working at everybody. Because he came in and everybody popped. And, everybody get it. Rob Van Dam, it was simple. It made sense. Like, it was.
The Rob Van Dam could sell like nobody else. Like,
he could do everything. He was good.
Like, him selling on his finisher always made me believe he just blew his ribs out. Like, jumping off of that 5-star was always his thing. Like, I was just like, yeah, he'd have fucked up his ribs. Every time I thought about it, but it wasn't like that. He was actually a really good worker. And I feel like, he was so hot at the time. Like, he was kind of Rey Mysterio hot. Like, coming from ECW, WCW Rey Mysterio coming over to WWE.
When he came in 2002.
Yeah. Like,
he was
Rey Mysterio. He was kind of like that, because when Rob Van Dam came in, there was nothing nobody else wanted to see on TV. Like, we wanted to see him come out and do some big shit. And I felt like, the one thing that I feel like they tried to do was try to make the ECW title and then put it on him. And I'm like, it's not necessarily the same in this sense. And at this particular point, we're not on the ECW. We're on a bigger show. So go ahead and give him the belt for the show. I mean, it's not like he
it worked. I mean, I understand what they're trying to do, though. But Rey Mysterio, another thing about him is once they put the mask back on, when he came back in 2002 with the mask on, that was it. That was what did it. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, now we're going. Because it's like, I don't want to see his face.
It didn't matter if we see his face or not. But at the same time, there's a mystique to Rey Mysterio to go ahead and have him have the mask on.
Yeah, he had to, man.
That's the gimmick. And, of course, at the same time, you got a lot of people who wanted to see his face simply because they knew what he looked like in WCW, but that was probably the worst thing he did then, because it kind of not necessarily destroyed him as being a big, small person, because Ray with the mask in WCW was very, very popular, very, very big. He was
good the whole time, but
But when they took the mask off of him, they tried to change him and make him be something else. And at the same time, that's not necessarily who Rey Mysterio is. Rey Mysterio wasn't that type of person to kind of just be like, that Filthy Animals act, I guess it was cool.
It was all right.
People, but it was just like, I could have seen him still in the same faction, doing the same gimmick with the mask on.
Gone. Yeah, like, I just don't know. I don't know why the decision was made, and, whoever made it is way smarter than me, of course. But as a fan, I looked at it, and I'm like, the mask is like, it's like, I never want to see the guy's face. I get it. Like, I get it. It's like, I understand. It's like part of his whole persona. It's part of his heritage. Like, I mean, let's not take that away. And it made him unique. Like, I mean, obviously there are a lot of mask guys in WCW, but like, he was always to me like a wrestling Spider-Man. It's always how I look like Rey Mysterio. Like, he was a wrestling Spider-Man, but he was like because Spider-Man in like theory is like as a superhero, is like really scrawny kid, blah, blah, blah. But he has got these amazing superpowers. And for me, Ray, it was 5-0, 100-0, but like, he had superpowers. Like, he could do shit nobody else could do. Like, and I think that's why, to me, Rey Mysterio is like, I love when he came back with the mask and he worked Kurt Angle, he worked these guys, he worked Eddie Guerrero. I mean, my God, I mean, just like he had amazing matches because he was just a star. He was so good. So, but Ray would, I mean, I like Ray versus Bret is the one that would have been. But George, I tell you what,
matches.
We better get going. We got to get out of here. It's time to. I think it's time to hit the hay, my friend.
Yeah, no, we definitely got to come back here next week with some new content for you guys.
We're coming back, Sting.
Next week with the Sting. What if he had 5 years in WWE right after his departure from WCW, or when WCW ended? Today we got a list of the perfect matches for Bret Hart's extended career. So, yeah, no, I'm definitely happy that we got this list out today. We'll put a publishing out on the on the Twitter here, and then of course, like I say, you guys can go and see exactly what matches that intrigue you. The time frame, we'll go ahead and put that on there too. So if you want to go ahead and throw a suggestion in there, it's got to be from a certain time frame. But of course, like I say, like, share, subscribe, get with us where we are. You hear me?
Yeah, we will. We're gonna get out with that poll about what we should live stream. Our first ever. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, George, you have a good evening. Everyone, thanks for joining us.
Peace.